phones rang, tickets sold, and boom, it was sold out on Wednesday night just like that.
Hashtag Alex Eala just changed the rules. The Eala Effect, IS taking over women's tennis. What happens when a tournament puts a rising star on a court with thousands of seats and then discovers that thousands more people want to get inside? You don't move the fans. You move the player. That is the extraordinary situation surrounding Alex Eala in Toronto. Her second-round match at the 2026 National Bank Open was originally scheduled for Grandstand Court, a venue holding roughly 2,800 spectators. For most players, that would already be a major opportunity. But then something happened that tournament organizers could not ignore. Ticket demand exploded. According to tournament director Carl Hale, thousands of additional fans wanted to attend Eala's match, with estimates putting demand above the capacity of the grandstand. And suddenly, the original plan didn't work anymore. The tournament moved Alex Eala to center court, a venue capable of holding close to 10,000 people. Think about what that means. This wasn't simply a scheduling tweak. It was a statement. Because tennis tournaments normally use rankings, television considerations, opponent quality, scheduling logistics, and expected attendance to determine where players appear. But Toronto encountered another factor, the Eala Effect. A player whose fan base doesn't merely watch from home. A player whose supporters buy tickets, travel to tournaments, fill sections of stadiums, wave national flags, and make tournament organizers ask a question they may not have expected to ask this early in her career. How big does the stadium need to be for Alex Eala? Hashtag the champion who arrived in Toronto. The timing could hardly have been more dramatic. Alex didn't arrive in Toronto as the same player who had entered the season. She arrived as a champion. Only days earlier, she had completed the most important title run of her career at the Mubadala DC Open in Washington. The final was against Jessica Pegula, one of the most established players in women's tennis. And the match did not begin easily for Eala. She lost the opening set. For a young player stepping into the biggest final of her career, that could have been the moment when the pressure became overwhelming. Instead, Alex changed the match. She fought her way back into the contest, took the second set, and then completely controlled the deciding set. The final sequence was extraordinary. 9 consecutive games. From being behind to closing the championship with authority. That wasn't simply a trophy. It was evidence of development. Earlier in her career, Alex had experienced the opposite kind of momentum swing. At the Australian Open, she faced Alicia Parks and completely dominated the opening set. 6 games to love. But the match didn't end there. Parks fought back. The momentum shifted. And eventually, Alex lost. That kind of defeat can stay with a young player. It can become a memory that appears whenever a match begins slipping away. But Alex didn't allow that result to become her identity. She used it as information. She kept developing. And months later, she was lifting her first WTA trophy. Then came another milestone, a career-high ranking of number 20. According to the source material, Eala became the first Filipina to reach the WTA top 20. And suddenly, Toronto wasn't simply receiving a talented young player. Toronto was receiving a champion, a top 20 player, and a player whose audience was growing almost as quickly as her ranking. But the biggest surprise was still waiting. Hashtag the court that was too small initially. The tournament's plan appeared completely normal. Alex Eala's second-round match was assigned to Grandstand Court. Approximately 2,800 seats. A respectable venue. A significant crowd. Nothing unusual. Then, the ticket demand began telling a different story. The demand surrounding Eala's match reportedly exceeded what the grandstand could accommodate. Thousands of people wanted tickets. Not eventually. Not after a long promotional campaign. The demand was strong enough that tournament organizers had to reconsider the original plan. So Alex was moved. From Grandstand Court to Center Court. From roughly 2,800 seats to a venue approaching 10,000. And suddenly, the scheduling decision became part of the story. Because when a tournament changes courts for a player, there are consequences. Broadcast plans have to be considered. Operations have to be adjusted. Security has to be coordinated. Scheduling has to be reworked. And all of that effort only makes sense when the demand is real. That's why this moment matters. The tournament wasn't simply giving Alex a bigger stage. The audience was effectively asking for one. And that brings us to the most important question. Why Alex? Hashtag it's bigger than tennis. The answer begins with community. Toronto has a substantial Filipino population, including a particularly large Filipino community across the greater Toronto area. For many of those fans, watching Alex isn't simply another tennis outing. It's personal. She represents a country, a culture, a generation of young athletes who rarely see someone from the Philippines competing at the very highest level of professional tennis. When Alex plays, that connection becomes visible. Fans show up wearing Philippine colors. They bring flags. They bring families. They create an atmosphere that feels different from an ordinary early round session. And that atmosphere has commercial value. It sells tickets. It fills seats. It creates television interest. It gives tournaments another reason to promote the player. But there's something even more important. Alex's supporters aren't showing up simply because she's Filipino. They're showing up because she's winning. That's the difference. Representation creates the connection. Results turn that connection into a movement. Hashtag from promising player to attraction. Think about how quickly the story has changed. Not long ago, Alex Eala was primarily discussed as a promising prospect, a talented young Filipina, a player with potential, someone whose breakthrough might come in the future. Now, she's a top 20 player, a WTA champion, a major ticket attraction, and a player whose matches can generate demand beyond the capacity of the original court. That's an extraordinary transformation. The Washington title accelerated everything. The ranking gave the achievement official recognition, but the crowd in Toronto provided something different. Proof that people care. That's one of the hardest things for any athlete to create. You can't manufacture genuine enthusiasm. You can't simply purchase loyalty. And you can't force thousands of fans to rearrange their schedules because a player is appearing on a court. They do it because they want to be there. And Alex has given them a reason. Hashtag the Parks rematch. Then Toronto delivered another piece of the story. Alex was drawn against Alicia Parks, the same player who had defeated her at the Australian Open after Alex won the first set 6-0. Suddenly, a normal second-round match had history attached to it. Would the previous result repeat itself? Would Parks once again find a way to reverse the momentum? Or had Alex changed? The answer arrived quickly. This time, there was no collapse. No dramatic reversal. Alex took control. She won 6-1, 6-2. The result mattered because of what came before it. The Australian Open had shown Alex how quickly a match could escape. Toronto showed how much she had learned since then. That's not revenge. It's progression. The goal wasn't to erase what happened in Melbourne. The goal was to become the player who could prevent it from happening again. And that is exactly what elite athletes do. They turn painful experiences into technical adjustments, mental adjustments, competitive maturity. Hashtag the WTA has a new variable now. Step back from the individual match. Look at the bigger picture. Women's tennis has always used rankings as one of its clearest measures of importance. Rankings tell us who has performed. They determine seedings. They influence entries. They help shape expectations. But rankings don't measure everything. They don't tell you how many people will buy tickets. They don't tell you which player can create a stadium atmosphere. They don't tell you which athlete can bring an entire community together. And they certainly don't tell you how many young people will watch a match because they see someone who looks like them representing their country. Alex Eala's rise is beginning to add that missing variable. Fan demand, cultural connection, market reach. Those things matter. And Toronto provided a very visible example. A player ranked number 20 generated enough demand for the tournament to move her from a smaller court into its much larger center court. That's a powerful signal. And other tournaments will notice. Hashtag the question every tournament director may soon ask. Imagine the next tournament. Alex Eala's name appears on the order of play. The tournament director looks at her ranking. Number 20. Then looks at the location. How large is the local Filipino community? How many tickets could her match sell? How much television interest could it generate? Will fans travel to watch her? Could a first or second round match suddenly become one of the busiest sessions of the week? These questions weren't always necessary. Now, they may be, because Toronto has provided a case study. The Eala Effect isn't theoretical anymore. There is evidence that her popularity can influence where the tournament places her. And if her ranking continues climbing, the combination becomes even more powerful. A better ranking brings stronger opponents. Stronger opponents create bigger matches. Bigger matches attract more attention. More attention brings more fans. More fans create more demand. And more demand gives tournaments even more reason to put her on their biggest courts. It's a cycle. And Alex is right in the middle of it. Hashtag, but there's a price for becoming a star, of course. There is another side to all of this. Attention creates pressure. As Alex's ranking rises, opponents will prepare differently. They will study her patterns. They will analyze her strengths. They will expect more from her. Fans who once celebrated simply reaching the next round may soon expect deep tournament runs. That's the difficult transition every young star eventually faces. The world stops asking, "Can she do it?" and starts asking, "Why didn't she do it again?" That is a completely different kind of pressure. Alex will have to manage it, because crowds don't win tennis matches. Ticket sales don't win tennis matches. Marketing doesn't win tennis matches. Only the player can do that. And so far, Alex has responded to increased pressure with results. Washington was proof. Toronto provided another chapter. Hashtag the story beyond the scoreboard. There is something else happening here that deserves attention. For young Filipino athletes, Alex's success represents possibility. For Filipino fans living around the world, she represents connection. And for the WTA, she represents access to a passionate audience that already exists. The sport doesn't have to convince Filipino fans that Alex matters. They already know. That's incredibly valuable. Because building a global sports audience isn't simply about finding viewers. It's about finding people who care. Alex has people who care. And they're demonstrating that care in the most visible way possible. They're buying tickets. They're showing up. They're filling stadiums. And they're making tournament organizers adjust. Hashtag Cincinnati is next. Now the story moves forward. Cincinnati. Then the US Open. Every tournament is another test. Every victory creates another wave of attention. Every deep run strengthens Alex's position. And every appearance gives Filipino fans another opportunity to see history unfold. The bigger Alex becomes, the more powerful the Eala Effect could become. Toronto may have been the first major warning, but it doesn't have to be the last. If the same demand follows her to other tournaments, organizers may eventually stop asking whether Alex belongs on the biggest court. They'll simply know, because the fans will already have answered. Hashtag the real Eala Effect. So, what exactly is the Eala Effect? It's not simply a packed stadium. It's not simply Filipino flags in the stands. It's not simply a player climbing the rankings. It's what happens when all three come together. Competitive success, cultural representation, and genuine audience demand. Alex Eala is becoming a player who doesn't just bring her tennis to a tournament. She brings people. That's the difference. And it may become one of the most important parts of her career. Because a champion can win a trophy. A superstar can win trophies and attract millions of fans. And if Alex continues developing at this pace, the tennis world may soon discover which category she belongs in. The journey isn't finished. In fact, it may have only just begun. Hashtag final conclusion. Alex Eala's move from grandstand court to center court tells a story far bigger than scheduling. It tells us that her audience is growing. It tells us that Filipino fans are becoming an increasingly visible force in professional tennis. It tells us that her recent success is translating into genuine demand. And most importantly, it tells us that Alex's rise is no longer something happening quietly in the background. It's happening in stadiums. It's happening in ticket offices. It's happening on tournament schedules. And it's happening wherever fans gather to watch one of their own compete against the best players in the world. Washington proved Alex could win. The top 20 ranking confirmed her competitive rise. Toronto revealed something different. People want to see her. And when a player can combine elite performance with genuine audience connection, the equation changes completely. So the next time you see Alex Eala's name on a tournament schedule, don't look only at the ranking beside it. Look at the court. Look at the tickets. Look at the crowd. Because the most interesting question may no longer be, where will Alex Eala play? It may be, how big does the stadium need to be? That is the Eala Effect. And if Toronto was the warning, the next chapter could be much bigger. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more tennis news from Tennis Diaries. Thank you for watching.